From the Family Council, we've got Mr. David Cox is with us. David, how are you, sir?
I'm doing great, Paul. How are you doing?
I'm doing good. It's always great to have you on. Now, I wanted to have you on to talk a little bit about Planned Parenthood because I didn't
hmm
realize this, but Planned Parenthood apparently is alive and well, no pun intended, alive in Arkansas. What can you tell us?
Well, you're exactly right. They've been on the retreat in many ways the last few years, especially in court. We've seen some great pro-life legislation passed in Arkansas, and we've won some really good victories. I would say in the Eighth Circuit, in federal court, and in state court to a certain extent. But Planned Parenthood is we're seeing an issue develop. It's a national issue, but I would say it has ramifications for Arkansas, and that's their agenda, their political agenda for 2020. As I said, Planned Parenthood's been on the retreat in court in many cases, and so now they're looking at the elections in 2020. And Paul, we just learned here a couple of weeks ago that Planned Parenthood plans to spend about $45 million at least on elections nationwide, and that's everything from the presidency all the way down to state legislative races. And that's something that I think could have some impact potentially in Arkansas, depending on how things pan out.
Yeah, man, $45 million on
hmm
elections in 2020. I will say this: we have got to do something about, taxpayer funding for abortions, taxpayer money going to Planned Parenthood. I mean, if we can't stop that, and when we're seeing these videos, the videos of them selling baby body parts and everything else. I mean, my goodness, everyone's outraged, but the government is slow to change on the policy.
Yes. Yeah, you're exactly right. And, Arkansas has done a good job getting Planned Parenthood off the public dole. Federal government has been much slower, but the Trump administration has made some good progress there.
Good.
And so I think what we're seeing is Planned Parenthood knows that they're fighting a losing battle at this point politically. So they want to change the makeup politically of who's in office.
Mm-hmm.
And, we're looking at their agenda here for 2020. Obviously they want to unseat Donald Trump. That's number one. They want to flip the U.S. Senate and get pro-abortion candidates elected to the U.S. Senate. They want to maintain control of the U.S. House of Representatives. But, Paul, what really concerns me is their plan for the state and local level. And they've committed to spend a certain amount of money. We don't know how much yet.
How much did
on
they
state
spend last year?
legislative races.
Like, how much did Planned Parenthood spend in Arkansas elections?
In Arkansas, I tallied it up. It was about $3,000, maybe a hair under. And, that doesn't sound like much, but if you're in a close legislative race, especially in Arkansas, that could be a game changer, just a couple of $1,000s being tossed around, especially in some of these, what I would call the purple districts, the districts that are always a razor-thin margin. Maybe you get conservative candidates elected most of the time, but the margins are pretty narrow. That's where I think the money could be a game changer. And it wouldn't take much. Planned Parenthood has a political action committee in Arkansas. It would not take very much money at the national level, I think, to be funneled down to Arkansas to possibly impact some of these races in 2020. So that's something we'll want to keep an eye on.
So are they fund? Tell me about the Planned Parenthood clinic in Fayetteville or Northwest Arkansas.
Sure.
Kind of tells that story because there was a landlord there that was convicted of leasing or renting the space to Planned Parenthood, right?
Right, yeah. What I can tell you what I know, and details are always hard to come by in these sort of situations, but there was a group of people, pro-life people up in Northwest Arkansas, who were committed to praying every day outside the Planned Parenthood facility there. And they were part of what's called 40 Days for Life. It's a series of prayer vigils that are held outside abortion facilities throughout the year, a couple of times a year. And, they prayed outside the clinic. They said, there were times that the landlord or whoever turned the sprinklers on them, trying to chase them off. They had all kinds of, not violent altercations or anything, but just arguments and whatnot with people who were coming and going there at the facility. And the way I was told, at least, it was almost as if one morning the landlord got up and said, you know what, this isn't right that I'm leasing this facility to this abortionist here. Planned Parenthood is the nation's leading abortionist. They kill more babies, more unborn babies than any other single group in America. And so my understanding is the landlord simply opted last summer not to renew Planned Parenthood's lease at their Fayetteville location. and they've been searching for a new facility in Northwest Arkansas ever since. And to my knowledge, they still have not found one.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I've been keeping track of this issue as closely as I can. I've talked to some folks on the ground in Northwest Arkansas, and they haven't heard anything yet that's definite. So it seems as if, for the time being, Planned Parenthood, I guess we're going on about 4 months, 5 months now, hasn't had a facility in Northwest Arkansas, an abortion facility.
Now, I understand
that. And I'd say that's really good news.
Oh, that is great news.
We're not aborting unborn babies.
They are trying to fundraise, right, in Northwest Arkansas. Are they trying to fundraise to get money to buy a property or something?
Well, that I don't know for sure. They are fundraising in Northwest Arkansas, but it's for their political efforts, as far as I can tell.
Gotcha.
And going back to that political action committee, you know, back in September, they raised about $1,300 from individuals in Northwest Arkansas. And, you know, that's money that's going to go into their PAC's bank account and be used to support pro-abortion candidates in Arkansas. So, yeah, I've heard some rumors about some facilities that they may be looking at in the Fayetteville, Springdale, Rogers area. But, you know, there's nothing definite enough that you could say they're trying to buy a place or get a lease just yet. So, you know, for the time being, they don't have a facility in Northwest Arkansas. I think that's pretty good news.
We're talking with David Cox from Family Council. Check it out, familycouncil.org. David, what can you tell us about a new Planned Parenthood facility in Little Rock?
Right. Well, Planned Parenthood just opened a brand new facility over on Aldersgate Road in Little Rock, not too far from Baptist Hospital, about a mile from the privately owned surgical abortion facility there in West Little Rock. And, you know, for years, they've operated a facility over off University Avenue on 12th Street. If you're familiar with the geography of Little Rock, that's kind of the Midtown region just south of 630. And so they've operated out of that facility for many years. Now they've just recently purchased this new facility over on Aldersgate. I'm told it's a state-of-the-art facility, much larger than the one that they had over on 12th Street. And just here in the last couple of weeks or so, they've, as far as I can tell, fully moved into that new facility, and they've begun offering abortions, chemical abortions there. And so, you know, at first I thought perhaps they were going to have two abortion facilities in Little Rock, one over in Midtown and one in West Little Rock. It looks like they're moving completely from their Midtown facility to their West Little Rock facility.
Wow.
And, you know, that on the surface, that looks like a defeat for pro-life folks like, you know, you and me, because, you know, they've got this brand new facility, it's state-of-the-art and so on. You know, I think that overall, as I said, we're seeing Planned Parenthood retreat. And so I would say abortionists right now are grasping at straws, trying to get whatever they can in terms of new facility and shares of the market. And so, you know, I think while I consider it a setback, we have this new facility opening in West Little Rock and doing abortions. You know, long term, I think that it's pretty clear we're winning the pro-life fight.
Yeah, I mean, we definitely are. I start every presentation I do for county committees. We go over the economic side of things here in the state, the taxes. Sure. But I start every presentation and end every presentation with how fortunate we are to have a General Assembly that it has made such strides in the pro-life movement, how strong they are on these social issues that really reflect this slow moral rot of our country, and they're trying to reverse that course, and I think that's a really, really positive thing. And you know, hopefully we'll continue to see more victories in the courts. You know, I get so sick and tired, David, quite honestly, of seeing Judge Christine Baker just rule against every pro-life law. It's just a given. It's like, well, the legislature's going to pass this law. Christine Baker's going to rule against it, and then it goes to a higher court. It gets kind of frustrating.
It does, and you know, in some ways, if you want to find a silver lining to it, I guess you could say on the bright side, the Eighth Circuit almost always reverses whatever she rules on those pro-life laws that we pass. You know, she'll issue a bad ruling. The higher court in the Eighth Circuit will reverse it. And as a result, we actually get some pretty good pro-life case law in the long run. Now, it takes about 2 years, you know, to get those good pro-life rulings on the book. But, you know, it does poke some holes in the pro-abortion arguments, I think, in court when she issues those bad rulings and then the Eighth Circuit reverses them and offers us some really good constitutionally sound arguments that are pro-life. know, if you want to find the silver lining there. But I hear you. I definitely hear you.
And that definitely is a good thing, and this is part of the long fight. And there's really no other choice. We have to expect these things are going to be challenged. It's a life or death situation, so clearly we can spend some taxpayer money to defend these laws. I know there's some people on the left that, oh, you're going to waste taxpayer money. It's like, we're not wasting money. We're trying to save kids' lives. Now, speaking of saving kids' lives, David, I had this thought. Okay, how many babies in Arkansas have been aborted? And what is I know the intrinsic value of the life, being created in the image of God, but I would love to know if you've ever thought about the economic impact of that child not being here, not ever becoming an adult, not ever going into the workforce. Have you ever thought about the economic impact abortion has, not just on Arkansas, but the country?
I certainly have. And Paul, that's an issue that comes up a lot, is the economic cost of abortion. And, I was crunching some numbers here recently. I tracked the abortion stats for Arkansas. As far as I can tell, Arkansas is missing about 150,000 adults who are ages 18 to 45. And that would be about, somewhere around 5 or 6%, I think, of our adult population is missing because of abortion. These people were aborted as unborn babies. And, to put it into perspective, that would be like losing almost the entire population of a city like Little Rock, or, a large swath of northwest Arkansas. If you had 150,000 people just disappear. And you don't need an economics degree to know that it hurts your economy if you're missing 5 or 6% of your adult workforce, especially your prime adult workforce, that 18 to 45 range that's going to be working and producing and paying taxes and supporting local business and the economy and so on. So, just that number alone, I think, illustrates the cost that abortion has on the economy and what it does to, I would say, our state economically.
That's incredible. I mean, if you the way you phrase it, we're missing 150,000 people. That would be in the workforce. That is the true
and
cost.
That's Arkansas alone. Not to mention, what you have in states like New York, Texas, California, Washington. I mean, nationwide, every state is grappling with this very same issue. But Arkansas, certainly, I would say, we've taken a hit there.
Yeah. And I don't know if you've seen, this just dawned on me, David. I don't know if you saw the Avengers superhero movies, but, at the end of one of them, there was the snap, and it's half of the people in the entire universe were gone. This is kind of, when you think about it, we've experienced the snap, man. I mean, how many kids since 1974? It's like 50, 60 million, something like that.
Yeah, nationwide, it's a number that's so high you could be off by a couple of million, and that's considered a margin for error. I mean, it's a statistic that you almost can't wrap your mind around. So many babies have been aborted in America since Roe v. Wade, and so it's just a staggering number.
And then the babies that the babies would have had, that's the other thing too. There's such a loss of potential there, man. It's just devastating.
Yeah, I mean, you're talking just generations wiped out, children, grandchildren. So it's, when you think about it in those terms, it really is sobering.
Yeah, it really, truly is. David Cox, I appreciate your time. You guys are doing great work. Again, it's familycouncil.org. David, I can't wait to do it again.
Likewise. Appreciate you having me on.
Alrighty, absolutely.